Hello everyone, this is a deck list of the Flower Cardian Synchron's deck that I actually made a video out of more recently, and the video that I uploaded onto Reddit and Discord has received some comments asking me for my deck list on the Synchron deck. So here it is. So we have just a Comfort at 1 here, we have 2 Jet Synchrons. We have a copy of Dotscaper, Cyber Synchron, Cobalt Hedgehog, Floor Synchron, and 3 copies of Doppel Warrior, 2 copies of Maxi, 1 copy of Caligo Claw Crow, 1 copy of Synchron Carryout, 3 copies of Junk Converter, 1 copy of Satellite Synchron, 3 copies of Junk Synchron, 1 copy of Steam Synchron, and 3 copies of Ash Blossom, and a copy of Hyper Synchron. For the spells, and we have no traps in this deck. For the spells, 1 copy of Monster Reborn, 1 copy of Rotor, 1 copy of Avarice, 1 copy of 141, 3 copies of Tuning, 2 copies of Dark Ruler No More, 1 copy of Lightning Storm, 1 copy of Living Fossil, 1 Black Garden, and 2 Caught by the Graves. So let's quickly talk about the main deck before we jump into the extra deck, because there is a lot to talk about in there. So this deck in particular, a lot of the monsters I've been playtesting, taking stuff in and out, kind of based on suggestions or whatever I think suits the deck best. Early on when I was playing this deck, I ran into a situation where I had a lot of tuners really early on and nothing to run, so I ran the Red Nova, big boss monster, who was unable to be destroyed or destroyed by battle or card effects, but can be killed by spell cards, I believe. Not killed, but affected by spell cards. And it does have a really good effect as well, but I felt like the Cosmic Blazer was just so much better. Okay, so for the main deck, Jester Comfort is a monster that can special summon itself, and it's a level 1. That's all you're going to use it for. The 2 Jet Synchrons, you can put this at like 1. I had this at 1 for a little bit earlier to the season. Prior to the season ending, which was like not too long ago. The season has ended. But yeah, so 2 copies of Jet Synchron now, just because I want that extra copy. A lot of the time I'll draw at least one of them, or maybe even both, and I'll have 1 copy left in the deck, which is not ideal. We have a copy of Dotscaper. This card is kind of a sticky monster. If it gets into the graveyard, it can special summon itself onto the field. If it gets banished, special summon itself again. Its effect can only be used once per turn, once per duel. Each effect can only be used once per duel. And the banish effect actually does come into play with this card here, Shen Shen. So if it gets synced off, it can come back, assuming that you didn't special summon it the same turn using its graveyard effect. Otherwise, if it goes to the graveyard, you can also banish it by using Shen Shen's effect to special summon Shen Shen from the grave to then get the Dotscaper back. Cyber Synchron. An alternative to the Jet Synchron, I also like it for its second effect. To banish itself to save whatever's in the extra monster zone, but also its primary effect is pretty good. You can target a level 2 tuner when you get the all the Synchrons out with Junk Speeder, and then you can target a level 2 tuner, make it a level 4, and then sync it off with a Doppel Warrior token, assuming you have 2 on the field, into any level 5. Cobalt Hedgehog. I felt like with all the milling effects and all the discards from what cards? For example, Jet Synchron. Is that it? 1 for 1 as well. I felt like it was a pretty good addition, just because you can special summon it back without any conditions aside from the tuner, which is pretty easy to fulfill. Flow Synchron. This is just here as a level 2 tuner, Synchron tuner. A target alongside Satellite Synchron for the Junk Speeder. Triple Doppel Warrior, self-explanatory. Maxi at 2. You can actually run this at 3 if you'd like to, but I feel like running 2 is perfectly fine. This actually does become a target for Junk Synchron if you open up with a pretty bad hand where you can't summon anything else. So you can normal summon Junk Synchron, you can pitch the Maxi, waste it, but special summon it back. Not in that order, obviously. You pitch it first, then you special summon it back, but yeah, you get my point. Caligo Claw Crow. If you control a dark monster, special summon it from your hand, and that is it. It's not insane, but it's pretty good. You're running just Comfort, you're running... What else is dark here? Cyber Synchron, you're running triple Doppel Warrior, triple Junk Synchron, the Satellite Synchron, and you have a few You have a few extra deck cards as well that are dark. Not too many though, so it's not amazing right now. If you are running the Chaos Ruler, I don't have it. Chaos Ruler set. That means the Chaos Ruler plus the let me look up Archfiend. That did not help this card. Hot Red Dragon Archfiend. Then you can definitely consider running more copies because they are both darks and they kind of sync into each other. It depends on the build though, right? Okay, let me get Photon back up. Next we have the Synchron Carrier. So Synchron Carrier was mentioned by someone on Reddit as a win more card, which I kind of disagree with on the first turn at least. Opening up with Synchron Carrier plus the Junk Converter plus any tuner just leads to a free double card draw early on. What I mean by that I'll explain maybe in a video later on, but the basic combo is you pitch the Junk Converter plus whatever tuner you have in your hand. This can also be tuning, by the way. So if you activate tuning first and the opponent doesn't have a Ash Blossom to negate it, you know that you can pop off with the rest of it. You can tuning into a Jet Synchron, pitch it with the Junk Converter into a Junk Synchron, and then normal summon the Synchron Carrier into the Junk Synchron into the Junk Converter. And that also leaves you a Jet Synchron to combo off with later in your graveyard. So I'm running out at 1 because I do agree that it is a bit like bricky sometimes. It kind of just, it's a dead draw most of the time, right? Because you can't do anything aside from normal summoning an additional Synchron. And assuming you're comboing off, you wouldn't have that many or that much need for it later on. Junk Converter is an amazing card. You discard it, add a tune on a Synchron monster from your deck to your hand. That includes Synchron Carrier. So if you have too many tuners, by all means add a Synchron Carrier to your hand. And then its second effect is also really good. So the combo that I mentioned earlier where you summon TG first to draw 2 cards. You summon the Synchron Carrier into the Junk Synchron to special summon the Junk Converter back. You sync the Junk Converter and the Junk Synchron into TG, and then you get the Junk Synchron back using Junk Converter's effect. And then you sync the Synchron Carrier with the second, or the Junk Synchron that was summoned back into a Junk Speeder and you combo off. That's not Speeder, that's Speeder. Okay, Satellite Synchron. This card I am trying out, kind of testing out right now. I took out some other Synchron, I cannot remember right now, but I took out another Synchron for this card just to try and, like, you know, mess around with. It's going pretty well, I guess. If you draw into this with TG late game and you sync it off, then it, like, sorry, have it in your hand, you can actually special summon it back if you special summon something from a graveyard, which is sometimes useful. I find that late game I am sometimes needing a Synchron card or like a tuner card just so I can, like, you know, synchro a bit more. Early on though, I'd say I want more of like the non-tuners just because Speeder always gets out all the tuners. Triple Junk Synchron, obvious, don't need to say much about that. Steam Synchron, its effect is actually sometimes useful. You can summon Satellite Warrior to pop cards on their turn. You can use the effect of Dawn Dragster to drop it down to level 5 and then sync it off into a Crystal Wing after using its effect. You have many combos there. And then you have triple copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is also self-explanatory. It's also a tuner, so it is a target for Junk Converter, which is great. Hyper Synchron is a level 4. This card will get replaced by Starter Synchron as soon as the Daima drops, so Dawn of Majesty, with all the other spell cards. Then we'll have to, you know, redo the deck. But until then, Hyper Synchron is your generic level 4 tuner. Do not sync into Crystal Wing because its effect will activate and this will get banished, which sucks. But it is kind of hard for you to do that because you can only sync it with Herald of the Alkalite. So you should be fine. Otherwise, Hyper Synchron, after getting that out with a Junk Speeder's effect, you should be able to sync it into a token, like a Doppel Warrior token, or like one of the level 1 non-tuners into a 5. Otherwise, you can always get the Charge Warrior with 6. Reborn, just continues combos, gets whatever you need. Same idea with Living Fossil here. Rota searches out Junk Converter, Junk Synchron, and Doppel Warrior. Those should be your main searches. I don't think you have any other searches available. Yeah, you don't. But those are the main 3. Choose whatever you need. Pot of Avarice, it's just a draw more card. Also really good for recycling Junk Speeder and TG and whatever you synced into the graveyard for Cosmic Blazer. However, keep in mind that if you are comboing off a lot in one turn, Junk Speeder is a once per turn, like a hard once per turn effect. So don't make that mistake, like I sometimes do. Some other cards are also hard once per turn, so just be careful. Triple tuning, self-explanatory. You add a tuner to your hand, Synchron tuner to your hand, and then mill one card. Dark Ruler no more, and Lightning Storm, as well as the 2 Caught by the Graves. These are really hard hitting go second cards. If you are playing against like a Drytron deck, Dark Ruler no more will do like the job. It will nuke everything. Well, nuke over time, assuming you sync off into a bunch of other things, right? But negating everything is the start to doing that. Lightning Storm. Like I mentioned earlier, you can run two copies of these because of all the Outlish decks right now. You can nuke all their spell and traps, which is amazing. Otherwise, if they overcommit and have a bunch of like attack position monsters, that also, you know, it's a first effect. I'm sure you guys know. Living Fossil, like I mentioned earlier, smaller monster reborn. If you banish the Dotscaper, assuming you haven't used this effect that turn, you can actually use this effect to special summon it back, which is great. So if you can do that. Or if you want to. Black Garden is a field spell, which is a bit weird, but it's a kind of like a hybrid. I don't think it's like commonly used. Maybe it is. I don't know. Garden Rose Maiden searches out this card. It summons tokens and special summons monsters from a graveyard. Your targets will be Hyper Synchron with 2 tokens. Where is he? There he is. 2 tokens here with the Garden Rose Maiden to special on her back. TG is at 3 tokens, and that is all you can special summon back with using that card. 2 Caught by the Graves. These cards are essential if you're going second. If they drop a maxi, you are fucked. You need to drop a Caught by the Grave to counter it. Otherwise, it's a go next, probably. Also stops Ash Blossom, you know, all the hand traps, all the nice stuff. Aside from the Bureau. Okay. Extra deck we'll talk about in a second. Okay, we are back. So with this extra deck, it is a bit different. You have a lot of different cards you can run. For example, the Fernon Pulse Dragon. I'll start with the cards that I'm not running, and I'll tell you the reason why. Fernon Pulse, I've tried it out as well. You almost never use this effect to declare its level from 1 to 3. I normally have the capacity to summon the Celestial Double Star Shaman or the Axel Synchron if I want to go down into like level 1 to or 2. And 3 is also available with Axel, but yeah. Fernon Pulse otherwise kind of forces you to special summon and synchro summon with this card being the last card you synchro summon with its main effect. If you don't activate it, it's just a generic level 4 tuner monster, which in my opinion, again, we need less tuners, so it's not amazing. In replacement of that, I am running Herald of the Arclight because I like a level 4 that is a non-tuner instead, so I can continue combos. And Herald of the Arclight you can also access in the gate, so if you want to leave it as a field instead of syncing it, or if you already have the resources like on the field to negate, you can just leave this as well as yet another negate. What else do people run? Formula Synchron. Formula Synchron is a nice +1 card that can synchro summon on its turn, on your opponent's turn. Same as the Steam Synchron and same as Axel. It's mainly just a +1 card normally. I think the Double Star Shaman is so much better, so you can never replace Double Star with Formula. But you can run both of them if you'd like to, if you are consistent with your level 1s. In my eyes, I never draw the Doppel Warrior, so I don't really like running the double level 2. We also have TG. TG's kind of self-explanatory. You draw many cards with this card. Axel, you can sync into your Cosmic Blazer using this. Otherwise, you can also level it up to sync into some other stuff like Shen Shen or Drax. That depends on what you need, right? But you can also use this effect to mill. You can mill this, you can mill this. You can also mill Hyper Synchron, by the way, to get it down to 1. What that does is it allows you to sync up with either Junk Speeder or TG or the Garden Rose Maiden as a 5, as well as the Stardust Charge Warrior, assuming you drew one of that. So you can go 5, 6, and 1, which is pretty nice. That does mean that you can't summon Hyper Synchron using Junk Speeder though, because it won't be in your deck anymore. So just be careful with that. Next we have the Junk Speeder, an amazing card. Kind of new to me, by the way, because I recently rejoined Yugioh. But Junk Speeder is an amazing card for Junk Doppel, and you can bring out all your Synchrons from your deck. You can kind of go into your level 6 straight away with a level 1 Synchron, either one of these two. to draw one, and then you can sync off with another level 2, like a Flow Synchron, into, I don't know, like a Crystal Wing. And that allows you to draw a card off the 6, and then also special summon a level 2 or lower with Flow Synchron. So if you have something in your hand, like a non-tune, you can sync off with the others. It's amazing. Alright, Garden Rose Maiden lets you draw this card into your hand, Black Garden, and it also has a nice graveyard effect, but that's irrelevant for now. So it's mainly just to thin out your deck, draw Black Garden, and then yeah, you can sync up like with other cards using Garden Rose Maiden. Once you get rid of this, you can activate Black Garden, or you can do it beforehand, up to you, but I'd rather not halve the attack or whatever I sync up with this. So keep in mind, Black Garden can target Garden Rose Maiden, but it also counts Garden Rose Maiden as a plant on the field, right? So it's 1600 plus however many tokens there are on the field. So keep in mind, this card will destroy Garden Rose Maiden, don't miscalculate. Yeah, its second effect as well, by the way, will get your Crystal Wing back from the graveyard, which is quite nice, but you need both in the graveyard for that to work. It is a nice, like, hey, I have nothing on the field, bang, I have a Crystal Wing, next turn kind of thing. Alright, Stardust Charge Warrior, just use it to draw a card. I have used its second effect to attack all the Rose tokens that I summoned. I've done that once, it's pretty funny. Alright, Flower Cardian, Borderfly, and Moonflower Viewing. Okay, these two cards are like the new package for Synchrons, right? So this is something that someone else has brought up, like another YouTuber. I don't remember, but I was like scrolling through YouTube one day looking at deck builds, and this guy popped up. If he does come to mind, or if someone mentions him and it is the right person, I will mention him in the description or something to give him credit for finding this combo. But it is super easy to summon with Doppel Warrior. Check the requirements. It's 1 tuner plus 2 non-tuner monsters, and then 1 tuner plus 2 non-tuner monsters for this as well, right? You summon the Moonflower Viewing first, assuming you have Doppel Warrior, makes it a lot easier. Synchro Summoner, so once per turn during your main phase, you can draw one card, and if you do, show it. Doesn't matter about the revealing, you're just revealing a card, but you do skip your next draw phase, just be careful with that, right? Yeah, so you're basically plus 1ing with this, drawing a card. You don't have to draw, but like, why wouldn't you, right? Assuming you're comboing all in one turn. And then when this card is used as Synchro material, you can treat it and all other Synchro materials as level 2 monsters. Assuming you Synchro summoned with a Doppel Warrior into the Moonflower Viewing, you can then use the 2 tokens and Moonflower Viewing to Synchro summon Borderfly at no other cost, which is great. Also, just a quick side note, like a beginner note for this deck. If you have only 1 monster zone left after Synchro summoning with Doppel Warrior, you can't get the 2 tokens. You can't just choose 1. It's not up to, right? So you have to summon 2. So make sure you have enough space. Alright, so Borderfly. Once you summon this card using Moonflower Viewing, you can then, once per turn, you can banish 1 Flower Cardian monster from your graveyard until the end of your opponent's next turn. Your opponent cannot activate cards in the graveyard. Also, cannot special summon cards from the graveyard, which is amazing. It is good disruption. If you don't know what they're running and you have the spare materials, then why not go for this, right? After this, it's a level 6 non-tuner monster. If you assuming you have like other tuners in your on your field or in your hand that you can summon, or like from your graveyard, like a Jet Synchron, you can sync it to like a 7 or an 8. Yeah, but the effect does still stay after you sync it off. This is very situational, but if a Flower Cardian monster attacks defense position monster, inflict piercing, you can use it to attack. It's still 2k, can inflict piercing. Unlikely though. Dawn Dragstar, it's pretty weak to be honest. It has been run over so many times really easily, but once you get a bunch of other monsters to protect this card, it is pretty good. It's a once per turn negate until its level goes down to 1, and then you can't, drop it anymore. Its first effect will never be used. Sorry, this one here, second effect. Each time an FAA spell trap, yeah, we won't use that because we don't have any of those cards. But once per turn, when your opponent activates a spell trap or effect, quick effect, you can reduce this card's level by 2, and if you do, negate the activation, which is cool. I actually didn't see that effect part ever. I don't think I've ever used it for a monster effect. I didn't know you could do that. I swear it's just spell trap, but yeah. Its level drops, keep that in mind, right? So you can't use this card and Steam Synchron to go into the Satellite Warrior that we'll discuss later if you have already dropped this level down by 2. It'll go into 5. But if you do it beforehand, go for it. Crystal Wing is Crystal Wing. I think everyone knows this card. Just be careful with spawn traps. If you put this, I like putting this in the extra monster zone so that I can protect it with Cyber Synchron. Shen Shen is a level 9. I have done this before, by the way. Crystal Wing with either of the level 1 Synchrons into a Shen, and then you can bring back the Crystal Wing with Garden Rose Maiden, and then you can sync off the Shen Chen by getting back the Jet Synchron into a level 10 like Satellite Warrior. Shen Chen is like a kind of like a card that can monster reborn itself, but also a mini Macrocosmos where any card from the field is sent to the graveyard is banished instead, which is cool. It can summon itself back, not on the turn that you sent it off to the graveyard, but it comes back during the next turn by banishing 2 monsters. And then when your monster declares an attack, you can return 1 banished card to your owner's graveyard. That includes theirs, but normally it's targeting like Jet Synchron or like Dot Scaper, so you can banish it later to special summon it. Assuming you haven't already used that effect. Yeah, that's about it. Okay. Satellite Warrior, a bigger Junk Destroyer. Pretty cool card. The thing that sucks is the only targets for this effect is going to be Axel Synchron and Stardust Charge Warrior, but usually it's just like to get more bodies on the field after it dies. But its primary effect is just to pop a lot of cards, and then that is about it. Cosmic Blazer Dragon is a big daddy of this deck. And this deck kind of revolves around getting this card out. You have how many combos? You have Celestial Double Star Shaman into 2 5s, like Junk Speeder and TG, or like Garden Rose Maiden. Or you can use, like I mentioned earlier, Axel into level 1 and then either of the level 5s and then level 6 to summon this card. It is amazing. You can banish this card. Yeah, so it banishes for cost, so you can still banish it like for a lot of other cards, even if Skill Drain is active, to get it like off the field for a second. And this negating summon, the summon warning built effect is amazing. This effect is rarely used, and negate attack is rarely used, and this card is also used pretty often. Yeah, just be careful. When I summon Blazer, I normally summon it in defense position just so it doesn't die to like Lightning Storm, because normally there's no like downside to summoning in defense, right? Next thing, if you want to attack, you switch to attack and go. Last card I didn't mention yet because I forgot. Martial Metal Marcher, when it's sync summoned, you can target 1 tuner in graveyard, special summon in defense position, and then a synchronous monster that was used, that used this card as material is treated as a tuner. So I would normally sync this into like an Axel Synchron, something that's already a tuner, because level 5 or higher synchros that are tuners are just hard to like work with, right? So definitely don't go into like a Garden Rose Maiden or like a Stardust Charge Warrior unless you need it. But yeah, otherwise level 6 tuners and level 5 tuners are going to be pains to deal with. Its effect, special summon a tuner, is pretty good, but I kind of rarely use this card. I'm considering taking this out. Okay, what else do other people run? People were on Stardust. Stardust is shit, don't do it. We do, however, have, where is Shooting Star Dragon as a part of the Quasar package. So you have Quasar and Shooting Star, but not Stardust. That works pretty well. You can definitely run this card instead of the Cosmic Blazer, but I prefer Cosmic Blazer because of the summon negate personally. And yeah, what else do people run? The Chaos Ruler. I think this card will become a lot better. Chaos Ruler. Become a lot better once you have the Stardust Synchron, because that's a light monster. You have a lot more other cards. You can run like Veilers as well to have light darks, and you can remove a lot of these cards as well. And yeah, the Chaos Ruler into the Archfiend, like I mentioned earlier. I think that's about it. I do have another deck list which I haven't played with in a while, but this is the Ultimaya combo. You have a lot more spells and some normal monsters, and this is what I first started off with. So you have Ultimaya, which is a level 12 monster, and when you set a spell card, you can special summon like level 8s from your deck. I had more level 8s prior to this. I'm like messing around with this deck, right? You can see Photon Pulse there. But like Crystal Wing was a target. I put a lot of Archfiend cards in as well, like the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend or something. Oh, Scarlight and Hot Red Dragon Archfiend, yeah. So I was messing around with all those cards. This is a different deck and a different like playstyle as well. Normally I end up summoning like some level 8 dragons instead of the big boy or like Cosmic Blazer. But let me know if you guys want a deck list on that as well. I'll be happy to go over it. But yeah, that's my Flower Cardian Synchron deck list. I hope you guys enjoyed, and take care. Laters.